Welcome to our Mind Power Mentor channel. I started this channel to help people to understand the power of our mind, so that we can use it to improve our lives.
The first 7 years of our lives, our brain function is predominantly, when you talk about EEG, electroencephalograph, putting wires on your head, our brain function is primarily in theta. That's a lower vibration than consciousness. Consciousness is alpha. So you're not really being conscious at this point. But it's interesting because you're participating in a world that theta is like imagination. And this is why children, especially between 2 and 7, are constantly mixing the real world and the imaginary world together because their mind is operating at that frequency. But here's the other point. Theta is hypnosis. And so why is that relevant? It says the first 7 years of your life is downloading programs of how to respond to life, how to behave, how to make relationships, how to do your job, how to have love for yourself or not to be loved for yourself or whatever. Who you are, programming comes in first 7 years. How do you do it? You don't have to do anything. Your mind is predominantly in theta. You observe your mother, your father, your family, your community. You observe them. There are things called mirror neurons in the brain that can take other people's behaviors and actually have you get a feeling and experience of it. So using the mirror neurons, you observe how your parents or your family, how they respond to the world, how they respond to each other. And what you're doing is you're not putting any conscious effort into it. Conscious is not even working yet. You're downloading. And I say, well, why is that relevant? Now we can tie this thing in a circle. Your subconscious programs, your basic programs into life and how to deal with life are not from you. They're not from your wishes or your desires. They were programmed into you by your family and your culture and your community. And this becomes relevant because then when you default into the subconscious, the primary way you deal with life is not the way you would deal with life. It's the way that other people dealt with life. And so you're not even living your own life. And here comes then the second part of the same big problem. Because you play the default subconscious programs when your mind is thinking, then by definition, your consciousness rarely observes your subconscious behavior, because it's only playing when your consciousness is thinking. And so basically, then you're not seeing your own behavior. In lectures, Amir, I offer the audience this scenario that most of them are familiar with, and they laugh about it. And I go, look, I'm sure you had a friend you grew up with. You knew your friend's behavior very, very well. And you happen to know your friend's parent. And at some point, you start to see that your friend has some of the same behavior as their parents. So you give a little volunteer thing. You go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. It's at that moment that Bill looks at you and gets angry and says, how the hell can you compare me to my dad? And everyone laughs because there's some life experience. They recognize this. But I say, no, the story is profound. And why is it profound? Because the point that I was talking about is illustrated, and that is this. Bill got his programming from his father. When he plays his father's program, which is in the subconscious mind, he's playing it because his conscious mind's busy. Therefore, he's the one that doesn't see the behavior. Everybody else sees the behavior. And that's where the problem comes from. 95% of the day, we're playing programs that are not coming from our wishes and desires, that they were learning to other people. And the significance is that only 5% of the time are we creating a life based on our wishes and desires. And 95% of the time, we're just replaying a life that has been programmed into us by other people and passed from family to family down generations. And all of a sudden you realize you're not living your life. You're living a program. And so the resolution, put it back into the matrix, is, okay, you're running this program and you're playing these behaviors that you don't see. And if they're not supportive, and psychology will tell you 70% or more of these developmental programs are limiting, self-sabotaging, disempowering. So it says 70% of your programs that you're not paying attention are sabotaging yourself and you don't see it. And then all of a sudden you say, why is that relevant? I go, well, I wake up in the morning with, I'm going out there to get a great job, and I'm going to find a great romance, and I'm going to be healthy. That's what I want. You come home 5 o'clock, tail between your legs, dragging your ass in, going, geez, another day I never got to where I was going. And then you have to look at it and say, well, what's the problem? The problem is, according to the way you just responded to life, it's not me. I had the great wishes and desires to be successful. And so I'm a victim of circumstances, the universe, fate, nature. I'm a victim because I wanted to have all these positive things, and look what I ended up with. And then all of a sudden I say, yeah, but wait, you only were operating 5% of the time moving towards your positive destination, and 95% of the time you were playing self-sabotaging limiting programs that you didn't see. So all of a sudden it turns out we're not victims. We created the crap, but we didn't have any awareness of it. We didn't know we were doing it. It's invisible. We didn't see it. And we didn't know that our behavior in those invisible periods were programmed by other people. And so tie it back in, last piece here, the matrix. You say, yeah, you take the red pill, you get out of the program. I say, and guess what? Science has recognized that when you fall head over heels in love, it's the same as taking the red pill. Because when you fall head over heels in love, you don't let your conscious mind wander. It stays right up front. And you'd say, well, why? Why is it different? It wanders 95% of the day, every other day. But today I'm in love, and now my conscious mind's here, it's staying here. And the answer is simple. The answer is, everything you wanted is in front of your face. Why would you let your mind wander? Everything is right there. And guess what? Now you're operating from consciousness. Yeah, which, guess what? Wishes and desires. And then two people simultaneously operating from their conscious minds, no programming, engaging wishes and desires. What did they manifest? Heaven on earth. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, the matrix is right. The screw up in my life is the programming, not my wishes and desires, but I didn't see I was programmed, and I didn't know that this was occurring 95% of the time. And when we start to understand this and recognize you can change the programming, then all of a sudden it says, how about it if you rewrote your subconscious programs and put in the wishes and desires as your programs instead of whatever you learned from your family and from school and your teachers and all that other crap that really threw junk in your head? What if you put all those wonderful things in your head? And then here's the secret solution when that happens. That when you're conscious, you're living your wishes and desires and your aspirations. You fall in love, you live heaven on earth because you're living your wishes and desires. And then I say, yeah, but if you change the program in your subconscious so that there are always programs of wishes and desires, then that means whether you're paying attention or you're not paying attention, the same behavior that created heaven on earth. And the issue, which I should just step back here, one quick step back, is, yes, I said how we fell in love. Being conscious, being mindful, doesn't lead to using the subconscious default programs, which we got from other people. And this is called the honeymoon period, where you and your partner are using your best behaviors, creating the best example of life you really want. Everything's beautiful. But then down the road, look, no matter how much love is wonderful, you still got to pay the rent. you got to fix the car. You got to do these things. I say, why is it relevant? The moment life gets busy and your mind starts thinking, what happens? Oh, your conscious mind's thinking. You're now defaulting to subconscious programs. And I say, well, why is that relevant? So for example, I'm in a wonderful relationship with my partner, Margaret. She asked me this wonderful, simple question. I'm thinking about fixing a car. She asked this question. I turn around and go, blah, blah, blah. And she looks at me like, who are you? Where'd that come from? So let's look at the scenario. What happened? I was in my conscious mind thinking. She asked me a question. I responded to her the way my father perhaps responded to my mother. And now she looks at me and goes, who are you? And then you have to realize, I have no idea what the hell she's talking about. Why? I was in thought. Whatever I just said was me. So I would have to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I've always been this way, or this is the way I've always am. And she's looking like, wow, that was like something new just happened here. And the problem is, that something new that just happened here is not going to go away, because the more thinking you do, the more you get back into regular life, the more you keep playing the subconscious programs, the more that behavior keeps showing up. And that's when compromises in relationships occur, because behavior that you never played during the honeymoon because you stayed conscious start manifesting as default behavior, and you start thinking, introducing new people into the relationship. The subconscious programs are not you, they're other people. And then all of a sudden you realize why the relationship starts falling apart. You started with two minds, conscious minds, creating heaven on earth. Then later you introduce two subconscious programs that represent other people. And now you got four minds working. And those other two uninvited guests, the subconscious minds, are the ones that are effectively destroy the relationship, because those behaviors now are going to, be compromising behaviors that take away from the honeymoon. So what I was saying just before I took a turn back was that, but if you change the subconscious programming, you'll have a honeymoon every day of your life, because even if you're thinking, you'll still default to a program that's supporting you.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. I upload similar videos every week. Subscribe help us to make continued videos like this. So subscribe. Thank you again.